So first and foremost, I just want to thank everybody who's been commenting on this particular video that I made about Hassan and Hassan fans. And I said Hassan Piker fans still don't get it respectfully-ish because I wanted you guys to know, like, respectfully, right? Though I did put a very funny pinned comment that said, to the bigoted ones, and especially the transphobic ones who showed up, I hope your socks are always feel wet, which I stand by. I also said I would take that back and cancel my order to the the Etsy witches if you fixed your bigotry. But to the Hassan fans who are good faith, I hear you, I see you, I really appreciate all of this. I actually think the reason I've been having so much fun this week is that 99% of the feedback I'm getting is so good faith, it is so reasonable that I'm enjoying the fuck out of this conversation. So thank you for that, right? I also want to say one of the dilemmas to these conversations is like, you know, there is like sort of a misunderstanding of me, which is fair. And now I might be misunderstanding Hassan, which is fair. But I would also say that the reason I don't feel like I get enough clarification on Hassan is sort of the problem with he's doing everything he has to, leave him alone. Nobody's ever doing everything they have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's ever doing everything they can. And so the dilemma is that when we're having these conversations and I see these comments, it is very much like a misunderstanding, I suppose, of the idea of he's doing everything he can. Now, with that said, something happened recently in the Hassan sphere where Contra, Natalie, and sort of him have been going back and forth a bit, kind of like subtweeting, I think is more the way to say it, because I know Natalie is not a very confrontational person. I know because I've had my own issues with her back in the day. And I struggle with this sort of kind of connection to class consciousness, which I think is a great kind of theory, and sort of the reality of humans as in terms of their condition. So Hassan, Destiny, Contra, me, everybody in this space, right? We're nobody and we're somebody. Hassan is definitely somebody, whether we like it or not, or you like it or hate it or love it, or you're a fan of him. He's now and has been working towards being somebody. He is no longer just a streamer. He's not like me and I am not like him. And to be fair, we're doing different things. I'm doing philosophy related to ethics, morals, and like the sense of like being, like your purpose in life. He's doing politics. He's working on structures of oppression, and he's using like a framework to move his point or to get his point across and then move people more towards his direction. Okay, they're two different things. Now, obviously, there's political philosophy, which you could say Karl Marx was a political philosopher. You can also understand that everything is political and everything is philosophy, but the question is like, which one were you before it? So I want to look at what I'm interested in is like the root of humanity past politics, because I think politics is a construct we created. And if it's something we created, then I don't care about the creation as much as I care about why. So example, politics is like an art project you made. And the more interesting thing about the art project is not that you made it, it's why you made it. So I want to know why you made the art project. And I want to get down to that root cause, because I think if you can understand it, you can move people in a better direction to create better art, right? And politics is like a form of expression. It's an art form in a big way. Like if you read the Communist Manifesto, like it's sort of like a piece of art, really. And you're reading it and you're like, wow, like this is kind of beautiful, you know? But then you sort of realize, oh, now you want to apply it. Hold on. Because as a piece of art, it's kind of great. I recommend it. But then, you know, and it's kind of like the Bible is a great piece of art until you want to apply it. And then I'm like, pause. Wait a second. Because it really is a great story. The stories in the Bible are fabulous. Like, I really recommend reading the Bible. And hold on. Right now, art is political. So you could argue that, like, you know, that's the point of it as well. And all these things can be talked about. But I think something else that actually gets sort of ignored, which I think is even more interesting, is connection, friendship, and collaboration, which is one of my criticisms sort of after going through something myself. So now we're bringing myself in. I'm bringing in the conversation about Brittany as a consciousness, which opens me up to criticism as a person, right? Brittany's a grifter. She's a bad person. She's collabed with all these evil people. And the point is, all of us have. And the question is, who is actually grifting and who isn't grifting? What is a grift? Because we've all, if we're all in this space, have overlapped with each other. It's just some people are willing to do things other people aren't willing to do. to get popular and maintain fame. Some people get thrown into it, right? Things are happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of personal stuff getting involved and also like not so much personal stuff. So I want to take this very small example from this Hassan stream about ContraPoints and Destiny and Hassan. And I want to expand it out to friendship. So the friendship element of what's going on in Hassan's life or in my life, right? And I want to connect it. I'm giving you a chance to look behind the curtain for somebody who is sort of there, but not there. As somebody who's always in the room, but never knows why she's there. Because I'm like, why am I here? I'm not going to play the games y'all are playing, but I promise you they're playing games. The games, though, are not necessarily evil, but some of them are. But a lot of it is actually just childhood trauma manifesting into streamer culture and / political culture. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you because I know you think that these people are really like doing something, but they're actually just living out their childhoods through their activism. Okay, so I'm going to explain it, right? So here's Hassan. This was posted to Hassanabi Productions 3 days ago. It's titled ContraPoints Response to Hassan.
Pod John's combo
about, like, who you are
that I had, where I basically, for like, I would say the bulk of our conversation, explained my position on Israel versus Hamas. I think it's a very good conversation that took place with the Pod John as well. I think you guys will appreciate it, especially considering that a lot of the liberals that watch Pod Save America, once again, have reacted in the exact same way that they reacted every single time I've been on the Pod Johns.
Okay, so Pod Save America, obviously we're all into it when it first started, and then we all fell off of it because it was obviously too liberal. I certainly don't listen to it now. And I do agree that it's a very big audience, and I can see why Hassan went on it. I don't have a problem with him going on Pod Save America, right? He's a political commentator. It's a political podcast. I will just say that I'm glad he's self-aware about the fact of what it is. And that's different than wanting to debate Asman, which we'll talk about in a second.
Which is excitement. They reacted with excitement, frustration for the way that Democrats speak right now on issues, right? I don't know what CNN is talking about. This guy's...
Okay, pause. You see how Hassan is making a mistake that I see everyone making? And I know because, again, I don't know if Hassan's family is conservative. I have to assume maybe some of them are. But as a girly who was raised by conservative and MAGA parents, I get a firsthand experience of what it's like to be in that family. And the same way that Hassan went on Pod Save America and liberals were like, oh, he's not as extreme as CNN said. Oh my God, this is amazing, right? Let's look. He's going to read this comment right now, right?
Seems pretty all right. Speak
Listen,
right now on issues.
Listen.
Right? I don't know what CNN is talking about. This guy seems pretty all right. We do need people to be more aware of who he actually is, trying to take what little we actually have away. It's not the LGBT or Latinos or black people or Muslims, it's the rich. Significant improvement over Cory Booker. Exactly the kind of conversation we need. Honestly, this was a very good interview. Much better and much more coherent than I expected, given the way some media is talking about Hassan. Appreciate the substantive focus on the issues instead just...
Okay, so you see what he's doing? He's saying, look, they're getting what I'm trying to say. Okay. My parents think Nick Fuentes is a good Catholic boy because of how well he appeared on Tucker Carlson. Because on our streams, we are more ourselves than when we're in interviews. So just like Nick Fuentes looks better in an interview, so does Hassan. That's the problem. The problem is if I told people to watch Hassan, I'd say, go watch his stream so you know who he is. Watch Nick Fuentes on his stream so you know who he is. Don't watch the interviews. The interviews are performances. And that's what I'm trying to say. This isn't an argument. This is the problem. It's like, yeah, but Habibi, just like you look better on interviews, so did Nick Fuentes. And I'm saying, same with Charlie Kirk. Most boomer parents thought Charlie Kirk was just a nice Christian boy. They had no clue all the other things he was saying, not that it would matter to them, right? So the dilemma here is that Hassan is getting the same amount of sort of like, oh, liberal approval that conservatives were giving Nick Fuentes. It's not actually a testament of something good, but it sounds good, doesn't it?
The controversy. After listening to Hassan for an hour speak clear and concise reasoning, now I understand why the AIPAC wing of the Democratic Party, which is say 99% of the party, fear and attack him. Logic and reason are not on the side of the Zionists. I've been casually aware of Hassan Piker and heard about some of his controversial comments. This is the first time I've listened to a more in-depth interview with him and entered it with an open mind. The perspectives Hassan offered helped me to expand my understanding of the issues between Israel and Palestine.
Now, the reason we feel like this is good is because it's moving people in a better direction. So we can all agree there. I'm glad Hassan is moving people in a better direction, right? That's the only difference. And that's, to be fair, a material difference, I suppose, or a literal, like a proof of concept difference. Like, great, like, awesome. He's actually doing it. Except, is he? Is this interview they see going to permanently move these people in a direction? And was it really Hassan who did it, or was it just that they were open-minded? See how this person said I came into it open-minded? Okay, then it didn't need to be Hassan. The point is that it was Hassan, which is good, but also, right? So the question is, are we approving of this particular type of relationship with others because it moves us closer to our goal, or because it's the right way to conduct ourselves as people? And this is what's difficult, because when we talk about building coalition or working together or engaging in sort of like who will we march with, which is sort of the comments I was getting on my Hassan video, like who would Brittany be willing to march with? Like she's making content that's basically debating who she should march with. And I'm saying, I'm not making content about who I would march with. I mean, not really. Like, that's not what I think I'm doing. I'm more or less talking about the ethical implication of marching alongside certain people. Now, keep in mind, I would be more than happy to march with Hassan. I would march with a lot of people. I've been to lots of protests. I've been to lots of marches. I don't ask people what they're doing there. I just march with them, right? Because I assume we're all there for the same reason. But if you ask me in good conscience to build coalition with people that I know have sexually assaulted people or that are Zionists, I don't know what we're doing here, right? And that's sort of what Basim was saying the other day, right? That I'm willing to work with Tucker Carlson because of this one issue. And I'm saying no. And that brings me into the ContraPoints destiny problem, because they're about to go off on Hassan in this video. Why won't he build coalition with them? Specifically Destiny. Now, I burned my bridge with Destiny over moral issues. We did not burn our bridges over politics, even though that would have come later. We burnt it over ethics. We you know what I'm saying? I called him out for ethical reasons, for moral reasons. Okay. Hassan and Destiny burned a bridge over political reasons. And that's the difference. Men are more than happy to be friends with men who are morally corrupt as long as they're politically aligned. And I'm saying no. Like we would have been, because at the time I thought Destiny was supposed to be this progressive. I was very confused about why he liked Biden so much. It was very confusing to me. Right now I know it's because he was never really a progressive, right? He was also introduced to me as a non-binary person, and that was not true apparently, or I don't even know what's going on there, right? So the point is that when we say let's build coalition with everybody, the people that come into our minds are the Destinies. So, but now I know for a fact Hassan doesn't engage with Destiny, even though Destiny wants him to because he's so desperate, right? Because Hassan is obviously more successful and he's better received. Okay, as he should be, by the way. In a just world, Hassan should be better received than Destiny. Obviously, he's a better person. Okay, just even as a brand, it's a better brand. Okay. But when you say build coalition with people and build a tent and all of us come together for this, if Destiny all of a sudden was a communist, are you about to collab with him? If he's all of a sudden a Marxist or a socialist, like in a big way, like are we collabing with him now? That's my question. That's where I'm confused, right? Okay, let's let Hassan talk for a while now that you've heard my initial thoughts.
Palestine. It's true. People are finally doing their homework. I learned about Hassan from Sarah Longwell at The Bulwark, and within 1 hour after listening to her rant about him, I became a Piker enthusiast. Thanks, Sarah. Hassan is spot on regarding corporate greed. I wasn't sure who Hassan Piker was until Dem started attacking him. After I listened to Kyle Kalinske talk about him, I checked him out and I found that I agree with almost everything he says. Thanks, Dems, for putting him on my radar. John was exactly the right person for this interview with Hassan. Good push, but also civil conversation and letting him explain while still calling out dumb things. This is what democratic politics should look like. Hassan's conviction is so compelling. He's so good whenever he's allowed to expand on his opinions. I love how he stands by his words and doesn't back down. I'm 64-year-old Democratic woman. I listen to Hassan. I'm so fed up with my own party. If they want to get rid of him, they want to get rid of more of us than they can imagine. I'm 70-year-old moderate Democrat. I found Hassan about a year ago. Do I agree with everything he says or the way he says it? No, I don't. He said things that make me angry. So has every Dem commentator or left-leaning politician I've ever supported. All of them. But the man is out there fighting for what he thinks is right. He's honest about what he feels and experiences. He puts himself out there. He goes and talks to everyone.
Okay. My only criticism of that comment, though I agree in spirit, is I actually don't know what Hassan believes. I still don't know. I know you guys keep telling me. I know his fans keep telling us like he's saying it. I don't believe him. You know what I mean? He is too much of a politician. And he's contradictory in his like friendly podcasts with people. I actually don't know what Hassan believes. I do not know what is actually truly an embodied belief in his spirit. But okay, I agree with all of this. He is a good political candidate. He's a good politician. He's a good streamer. He's definitely moving people more left. Like, I agree with all of that. That is just true, right? But I don't actually know what he really believes. In the same way, like when you meet a Christian who says like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I was like, are you? You don't like embody a lot of Christian beliefs. Like, it's like, oh, interesting. It's like, no, I'm a Christian. I go to church. I do these things. I'm like, yeah. Okay. And like, listen, I am the kind of girly that goes like, I don't really think you're a real Christian. I don't really think you're a real Muslim. I don't really think you're a real this. Because I do think that for me, at least, when I say I am something, it's like really important that it's true instead of that I sort of am true. Like somebody in my commentary channel, my Bert Simon channel said, oh my God, I liked you before, but now I find out you're vegan. I like you even more. And I'm like, well, I'm not technically vegan. I'm plant-based. But yeah, I'm trying to maybe be vegan eventually, but I'm not there yet because it would be a lie. I have a feeling Hassan would just say he was vegan. And that's why it doesn't feel honest. And I'm saying I can't say that I'm vegan. It would be wrong. In the same way that Alex O'Connor was a vegan and then stopped being vegan, and then people had to make Alex O'Connor was a vegan video, but he's not a vegan anymore videos. That's what I'm saying means, oh, you're not actually philosophically a vegan. Alex O'Connor was never a vegan. Even though technically to a lot of people, they would say he was a vegan. He wasn't actually a vegan. He was plant-based. Because you can't say in one, oh yeah, I think vegans are right ethically, which Alex engages in philosophical ethics. He was saying, oh yes, like I do agree with vegans, but I'm not vegan for health reasons. Then you're not a vegan. And not really, like not in the way that they mean it, not in the way that I would understand it to the point where I wouldn't like call myself vegan unless I was. So that's what I mean. When I see Hassan, it feels like he's the kind of person who would just say he was vegan when he wasn't. And that's the part that I think even his haters kind of think is true. But I also think his haters are a different category of like morally bankrupt people. And when you have a group of morally bankrupt people who play really good social games, by the way, a lot of the time, they're very likable in many ways. They corrupt and sort of like make this conversation really difficult, because in the same way that you're telling me to build a tent with people that oppose me based off of ethnicity or sexual orientation, you're also saying that, but Hassan doesn't have to build coalition with these people. But you're saying I have to build coalition with these people. It's confusing. It's a confusing message, right? I'm not sure what you mean, right?
He's not our enemy. He is our ally. This is, as Hassan Productions says, is why they're desperate to try and cancel me. When regular people watch him outside of 20-second clips, this is what happens. Always. Okay? Always. And of course...
Yeah, but this is what happens when people watch me in context too. Always. Even the Hassan people that were like, oh, Brittany, at first I thought I was going to hate this, but I actually agree with you. I know. Because I'm just a normal fucking person. Hassan's a pretty normal fucking person. That's, of course. Because we're on the more reasonable side of being an adult in the world. But usually when you watch other people's streams for too long, you start to realize like, uh-oh, no, there's something really bad here happening. If you have some actual leftist value. Like values, if you have some leftist values, of course, right? The dilemma is, and now people will say, but then why are you guys attacking? Or why are you guys like, why are you trying to fight Hassan? I'm not fighting Hassan. I'm just saying you cannot ask me to vouch for a man. That's it. End of sentence.
on the orbit, people who actually watch the interview go, wow, this is awesome. I had no idea what this guy was about. And now that I've actually listened to him without this ridiculous filter, even in a somewhat contentious environment where, my statements are being called in to account, right? There is a little bit of accountability there. It's not like John Favreau is just like letting me.
Obviously, okay, that was a funny. I made a joke. I made a little joke, okay? The truth is there are plenty of men on the internet that I was like, oh, they're fucking good. Watch them, bro. But the dilemma is like they're good because they embody, like I actually believe they believe it. When I recommend somebody, I'm like, oh, they really believe what they're doing. That's who I like to promote. And I just can't get behind Hassan. I don't believe him. But I'm saying I don't believe it's true for him. And you're saying it doesn't matter if he really believes it. He's doing it. And I say, I've been here before. I know how this ends. That's why I can't in good conscience. Like, I'm telling you. And that's what I look for. And again, the person at the end of the day who gets most of the criticism for even backing these people are the people who back them, because we created them. So, like, you know, there are men on the internet that I love, that I support, that I always shout out, okay, because I think they really embody their beliefs.
Run away with whatever I'm saying and doing. All of a sudden, it's a lot more reasonable, okay? These guys are not equipped to deal with subversive mask on.
Okay, he is literally reading Destiny tweets, which, by the way, the greatest thing I ever did was cancel X. After Destiny's community harassed me, after Hassan contributed to that harassment by proxy, he doesn't realize this. That's what I'm saying. Hassan can't be trusted as well, because when he was given the opportunity to uplift my voice, which he wasn't obligated to do morally, he chose to write me off in case I was clout chasing, in case he was like, I don't know who this person is. Exactly. And that sent a message to your audience, whether you believe it or not, to not trust me because they thought I was another clout chasing woman, instead of recognizing I made a very good video about Destiny, especially since I personally had an interaction with him that officially cut ties with him in any capacity after 2 years of harassment from his community. Like, I made an amazing video that the victims of Destiny reached out to me in DMs and were like, thank you for this video. You're welcome. That's what I'm saying. The women came together and said, thank you for standing up against him. And I said, thank you. And the men said, ooh, clout chaser, clout chaser, clout chaser. And that's the difference. The difference is exactly that line in the sand. And now, right, here he is reading out Destiny tweets. First of all, Destiny is literally an immorally bankrupt predator. He is a dangerous person, which was a part of my video about Destiny and how the Democrats don't need him. They need to stop talking to Destiny. And the fact is, you guys aren't having those conversations because Destiny so desperately wants to be on Pod Save America. That's why he's mad Hassan is. Of course, Destiny is upset at Hassan's success. Destiny thinks he's entitled to it, while being an active predator. And why wouldn't he? Trump is president. The same thing that makes Destiny feel entitled to fame is the same thing that made Trump feel entitled to the presidency. And this is why, with everything coming out with Saikuno, all of these boys, and yes, a lot of the boys that I even collabed with who were so-called liberals, they also said this man isn't a predator. Saikuno, including Destiny, including all those other guys, they were like, it's not, this isn't predatory behavior. Of course you don't think it's predatory. You were predators. Of course you don't think it's predatory. And that's my point. How can we build coalition with people that are predatory? Why are you asking people to do this? Right? So, okay, let me show you this really fast. Let's pivot for just a second away from Hassan. We'll get back to him. Don't worry. Okay, this is Ray. Love her. Working on her PhD in philosophy. She's great. She's a leftist. And she talks about how community only matters if you combat patriarchy. And this is more or less my vibe. Okay, this is the vibe.
You know that the restorative justice, you know that the carceral system is not the answer for survivors of gendered violence. In fact, the carceral system often criminalizes women who stand up against their abusers, as this creator mentions. But at the same time, like this creator, I am very concerned about the fact that we cannot have restorative justice without having communities that support survivors. As a feminist scholar, I really emphasize the importance of community in recovering from and getting justice for survivors of abuse and gendered violence. Like this creator mentions, a lot of communities are more interested in protecting abusers rather than supporting survivors. I remember one time I was at an organizer training for leftists of color who were interested in restorative justice. And the facilitator was explaining how they have implemented restorative justice in their own community, which was a music venue. And they mentioned that whenever a woman was being harassed by a man, they would remove the man from the community only temporarily, and they made a point of bringing him back very, very quickly. And the facilitator seemed to find this to be something to brag about. They talked a lot about how men are not trash, no human being is trash, and I agree that no human being is trash. And I agree that when we call people trash, it sometimes involves this logic of disposability that isn't always good for healing, even for the survivor. But at the same time, I really question the idea of bragging about bringing an abusive man back into the community so quickly after not involving any kind of education or rehabilitative process. The facilitator mentioned that this person had harassed multiple different people, and I think about the fact that all of these women regulars at this music venue would just have to deal with seeing their harasser over and over again, even though there's been no evidence that this person has put in any effort or commitment to becoming better. We talk a lot about community, but I worry that sometimes we are more interested in communities that protect abusers rather than about protecting the dignity and safety of survivors. We can't just uphold community as an abstract ideal. We have to actually work towards eliminating patriarchy in all its forms, including in the attitudes of men, feel entitled to women's bodies. That is a much harder thing to do, but I think it's worthwhile, and I hope that's what we can work towards.
So I think there's a very like unclear thing here when people say like the color of your skin, racism, if your people were enslaved 400 years ago, which we watched yesterday, doesn't matter. The point is you don't have a house now. Sounds a little bit like, because it's all connected, of course, sounds a little bit like even current day stuff. Like, even though this guy had a history, like you have to build coalition with him. Or I understand if I go to a protest or a march, there will be people in that group that have raped people. But if I find out you've raped people, you can't march with us, right? I understand there will be people in that group who are against Trump or the No Kings protest who are also racist. But if I find out you're racist, you can't march with us. And the dilemma is what I'm hearing from these communities, what I'm even hearing from Hassan is sort of like, there are exceptions to the rule that you have to build bridges with some racist people and some rapists. And I'm saying, where is the line? Like you're asking us to put aside our quote identity politics quote, right? And I'm saying, where is the line between my identity being a rape victim? Is my identity also being a rape victim? Is violence, like you act like racism just exists in a vacuum, right? So somebody left a comment on my channel that said, I gave an example yesterday that said your mom goes to the grocery store and buys the person in front of them their groceries, and it's a trans person. And then when they get to the car, the mom brags about how much they help the trans people buy their groceries, even though they're not, see, I'm not transphobic. I bought this trans person's groceries. And the person said, yes, Brittany, but this proves that the mom, regardless of her internal relationship with bigotry or the trans person's relationship with bigotry, the real, actual, tangible reality is the trans person did experience transphobia and they got their groceries paid. You're missing the fucking point. For some reason, you guys think things happen in a vacuum. As if my fictional mother in this story isn't also going to carry out her bigotry in different ways and might even turn a blind eye to the fact that a trans person could get jumped and killed one day, because that's what ends up happening. Well, they're bragging about buying your groceries in one instance. They'll turn a blind eye when you come forward with a rape, accusation, right? So the dilemma is like, it doesn't just exist in a vacuum. The reality is like this one instance of praising yourself for buying someone's groceries, to prove you're not transphobic is not only transphobia, but it will show up later. So for people to say, put that aside, put transphobia aside to all move towards class consciousness outside of dismantle capitalism, like where is that line? Where is that line? Because again, I think it feels like you guys don't know conservatives a bit, or you don't know centrists. Again, there's so much that Hassan is doing that is good, but I really do think his work will always come at the expense of marginalized people, even if he says he's fighting for them. In the same way that Destiny weaponized his marginalized status to get credit from liberals. Oh, I'm non-binary, I'm bisexual, I'm Cuban, I'm all these things. And I was like, oh, cool. So you must be cool. And then I was like, oh, what's happening? I fell for it because that's how he was introduced to me, right? And now Hassan is saying, see, you fell for the identity politics. What I fell for was the assumed association that if those were the things you're going to introduce yourself with, it would follow that you have deconstructed in some capacity away from white supremacy and capitalism. But since Destiny didn't, and I fell for it, I became more diligent about not letting men in positions of power with big microphones trick me into backing them when I knew they weren't holding embodied beliefs. Destiny's biggest flaw is he never believed anything he said. So when I would tell his viewers, he doesn't believe this, he's just arguing it to debate. They're like, that's what a debate is. And I'm like, but it's bad. That's bad. I'm saying this about Hassan now. I'm saying Hassan is a better version of anyone else who came before him who did embody their beliefs. And I don't know if patriarchy is so ingrained in everyone's brain, you don't know how to see it being played out right here. But this is the difference between, I think, queer spaces and queer politics and queer philosophy, is that I think a lot of it is deeply embodied. It's why even gay communities, I have one of my best performing videos on my commentary channel is when you're gay but not queer. That got so many views and comments and people divided because they don't understand. Queer philosophy is also a dismantling and deconstruction of your relationship against capitalism and white supremacy and the nuclear family. And all of these things that you guys think are just casual things that don't matter are deeply ingrained in how culture moves forward by uplifting and maintaining these oppressive systems. So again, human beings are animals on a planet. They're engaging in things outside of objective morality because we have no access to objective morality. Hassan isn't advocating for objective morality. There is no such thing. And so when you're saying to people in a subjective reality, here are the ways you should be. And I agree, by the way, with the overall argument Hassan makes. But then you say, or at least, the reaction to my criticism has been, right? Don't say anything bad about him. He's doing the Lord's work. What you're saying is that any problem I see with him isn't worth it, which is what leads to predatory behavior. Because God forbid this man ends up being a predator. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to understand it's all connected. This is exactly why, by the way, language has had to become what it is, because you guys wouldn't give any credit to like sexual harassment. There's no sexual harassment. That's no sexual harassment. Well, so now we're going to start calling everything sexual harassment because it kind of is. And I actually agree that it is objectively true, but it's because you never gave, even when it wasn't, now it's here. And that's why we say we live in a rape culture, because you wouldn't even give it when it was like, kissing somebody, stealing a kiss from somebody, sexual assault, right? But you wouldn't even give it to us. And so now people are like, oh, so you're not even, so now it's going to go more and more and more. Even like kissing a cheek is sexual assault. I mean, it technically is. And also, I'd like to live in a world where we could socially have an awkward moment and be like, oh, my bad. I went to, without it needing to. But if you do not give people the assurance that, hey, that was maybe a violation of consent, you're not really allowing people to have a safe space. And so like, if I cannot give any criticism now, then what later am I not going to be able to criticize either? And so now it looks like I won't build coalition with Hassan, when the irony is like, I would march with him any day. I'll march with him. Why not? I just won't collab with him. Because marching with him is a duty of an activist and a participant in the system, or against the system. Collabing with him is work. I'm not an activist by trade. This is not what he isn't either. He says he is, but he's not really. He is a streamer. He is a performer who's getting into politics. But people into politics, he's getting into politics the way a politician does. It's different. It's different. You know what I'm saying? And again, this is because I know so many people, so many women especially, who work within systems and communities. They're not coming out millionaire famous people. They're not. They're living off 40 to maybe 60K a year, maybe, in a shared apartment with their friends and family, taking care of sick grandmas. It's just not the same life. So if you're going to move through the world this way, and it is a fight for the top, right? That's what Destiny wants. Destiny is upset that he's not as famous as Hassan, but they're both fucking rich. So, okay, this is the problem here. This is the patriarchy of it all. Let's go back.
On radicals and have done more to sanewash this lunatic views than probably any other alternative media platform. Ezra Klein argues that we don't have to limit discourse to people we deem acceptable, then does somersaults trying to make Hassan Piker seem more acceptable. As much as he's a never Trumper, he's also a never Democrat too. Piker's a loser. His ideas are losers. So is his politics. Notice how the people that refuse to engage me and the ideals that I represent and fight for are the ones who are the most active in disparaging what this movement is, what this movement represents. Many of them can also be identified with Israel first politics as well. Interesting. Or in this sex
See how? Yeah. Okay.
case, obviously a personal vendetta that he's carried for almost a decade.
He almost had it. Notice Hassan's priority of criticizing Destiny. Let's go back. Did you hear it?
This movement represents the most active in disparaging what this movement is, what this movement represents. Many of them can also be identified with Israel first politics as well. Interesting. Or in this sex pest case, obviously a personal vendetta that he's carried for almost a decade. I promise
What happened? What did he do right there?
you, Pod Save America, we do not need to hear.
What did he do? What did he do in that very commentary? Okay. So he called him sex pestiny, which is, what does that mean to anybody who's hearing it? What if this is the first time someone's watching Hassan and they have no idea what he's saying? Because Destiny is somebody who's worked with the Democratic Party. He's somebody who's gone on that tour that happened and he's engaged. What if nobody knows what that means? He's not a sex pestiny. He's a predator, a serial predator who targeted vulnerable people and absolutely violated so many people's consent. And the only thing we got from this criticism from Hassan in this very moment was that he has a vendetta against me. No, he's a predator. He's a predator. He is Trump adjacent predator. That's why Destiny being so anti-Trump is hilarious, because they would get along so well. And that's what I'm saying. And so when so as a woman, or as a femme presenting person, as a person who's been assaulted, when I hear that, I go, I see where your priorities are. Once again, it's not with the victims. It's not with creating a safe space. It's with, okay? Again, I get it. You're a dude raised under patriarchy. You literally, I don't expect you to know anything, especially when you don't meditate, you don't introspect, and you don't go to therapy. How would he ever know anything? How would this man ever know anything when he's never given himself the tools? Because he's just busy fighting in a patriarchal system of, like, you know, who's fighting for people more, I guess. I mean, what is politics except a game of men? Everybody knows political audiences are primarily men. You know, it's a patriarchal system. Women really struggle to be in this space. And you know what's ironic is, I don't even have to tell you this, because Representative Sarah McBride said it herself. Okay?
That
on Pod Save America, funny enough.
The antics we saw from folks in Congress who were taking up a lot of oxygen was the politics of reality TV in pursuit of a rational goal. Attention for the sake of power, for the sake of influence. What I have come to realize over the last year is that for many of the folks that you see taking up oxygen on the other side of the aisle in particular, it's not in pursuit of a rational goal. It's actually an addiction.
Interesting.
And I think that's one of the things we actually don't talk a lot about. It's not pursuit of attention to win the competitive attention economy. One of the things you most frequently hear about these people when they get to Congress is they were so normal when they got there. And granted, they're people who ran for office, so I doubt they were that normal, but by congressional standards, that they were relatively normal. And then what happens is, with all of the best intentions, they go viral once. And they're not doing it in pursuit of that, but they just find themselves going viral for something they've done. And we know that social media is addictive. And when someone posts a picture online and it gets a couple hundred more likes than usual, it's a dopamine hit. It's a puff of a cigarette. But when you go viral nationally, it is like the most instantly addictive drug. And I don't mean that as a trite throwaway line. I don't mean that as a metaphor. I mean literally. It is addictive. And one of the things that we don't talk a lot about is that much of the behavior you're seeing in Congress is from people who are struggling themselves. They find themselves going viral. And as is the case with many addictions, they will debase themselves and inflict collateral damage on anyone else in pursuit of that next high. And it's the same strategy that I employed before, but it's a different understanding, because in the context of people coming after me early on, my job was not to take the bait. It was not to give them the response that they want. And in this case, it's to be essentially a clogged bong, like just to not give them the high that they want so that they will go.
So that is what's happening, right? Now, of course, Chaz says, why must she be a Zionist? I mean, I know. So, like, okay, I'm not even a fan of hers or anything, but the point is, like, she's pointed to something that is true. And it exists in streaming, it exists in politics. And that's why I say be careful of the people that are thriving on the virality, right? Like, I tell you, as a person who's been given opportunity after opportunity her whole life, I have always rejected the desire to be famous. Always. Every single opportunity I've ever been given, I'm like, no. And the reason is because, again, my special interest is literally philosophy. It's introspection. It's meditation. And there's no data point, if you want to be a little science girly about it, there's no data point to point to any benefit of fame. There are zero perks to fame. And so when people, like, any fame that's coinciding with your joy, there's just none. So when I see people chase it, I have to question them. Now, of course you think it's good because you want your guy to be famous so more people hear them. I 100% get it. Now, some people will say, okay, Brittany, because I got a lot of comments from people, right? And they're saying, okay, wait, are you like, well, see how these wall of text, guys, I can't read that. You guys got to learn how to indent. Period. You got to put paragraphs in your thing. I can't read this. I'm dyslexic. You know what I mean? You got to give me, holy crap. Oh my God. You know, how am I supposed to even read this? But basically a lot of the commenters are like, so are you saying we shouldn't fight or that people shouldn't change? No, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying not only people should fight and not only people can change, but I'm saying, how can you ask the world to be different if you, in the name of fighting for liberation, repeat cycles we've done 1,000 times? Okay? That's what I'm saying. If you're repeating cycles 1,000 times, why do you think Hassan is different? What indication in Hassan is different? That the status quo is fighting with him? Okay, we've done this 1,000 times. They're always fighting with everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying the irony of the real people doing the real work is people's names you'll never hear, right? It's people who aren't looking for fame. And I know you're saying, well, Brittany, then how do we replace these politicians with good people? Well, maybe that comes down to dismantling the system and talking about like the need for politicians versus representatives versus like, you know, town leaders versus like small. It's a larger conversation, but we can't even get there until we talk about like us as a species, us as a people. So somebody said, I don't get why we've already tried your way 1,000 times. First of all, you don't even know what my way is, because no, we have not. You're saying there was some time in history we tried no bigotry. There was some time in history when we tried actually like focusing on children, the most marginalized community in the group, like in the community or in the world. You're saying there was a time in history when we actually valued the sanctity of life, not in a pro-life way, but in a general way, from animal life to non-human life to plant life. Oh, really? When did we do that? Never. Because men have always been in charge and the system has always been what it was and people were survival of the fittest and all that bullshit. And so here we are. And by the way, there were communities in the past that actually worked across gender lines, obviously, and there was a more egalitarian parts of history. We understand that. That's all fine. But I'm saying that we haven't really embodied the belief. It was something we did because it made sense, which is different than having an embodied belief. Sometimes the struggle with an embodied belief versus a sort of doing it because it works is that you have to like face yourself. And that's the hardest part, is like facing yourself and being uncomfortable and saying like, do I actually believe this or do I think I believe this? And that's really hard. That's actually super, super hard. Do I actually believe this or do I think I believe this? And then how does that show up in my life? And then how do we make room for people to get better? These are all different things. Again, everyone's playing a different role, so everyone has to act differently. But also, we're multi-layered. Who is Hassan as a partner, a friend, all these other layers of social interaction, right? So we know with Destiny as a character, we know that he failed on all fronts. Okay, I know with ContraPoints, at least personally, that I think there's a lot of failure there on all fronts. But this is, maybe she's changed or whatever. But there's a failure. I doubt it, because now she's like a Zionist, right? So like she hasn't gotten better since I knew her, and I barely knew her. That's the other part of this conversation that we have to talk about in a second. None of us know each other. The illusion that we know each other is an illusion. And the same way I can't vouch for my brother, even though I know him. The truth is I haven't talked to some of my brothers in like 3 years. I don't know what they're up to. The point is that even though I hang out with my brothers, they don't tell me everything. So like you can sit here and be like, how did you not know? How did you not know? You know, but you don't know. You have a feeling, you hope so, you don't know. There's sometimes Stream will ask me questions about my brothers and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Because like people only know what they know, right? I mean, a lot of us have friends that won't even talk about like who they're dating or what they're into because it's embarrassing for them, or they don't want to admit it, or it's a little awkward for them. Like people are going through stuff, And so again, like closeness is multifaceted. I'm spiritually close to people in a way that is unbreakable, and yet they don't tell me everything. Mostly because they know I'll criticize them. Ooh, because I am that girly. That's how I play a role in people's lives. I'm like, ooh, you shouldn't do that. So again, I'm not acting any different towards these streamers than I act with the people in my life. If you told me you did something bad, I'm going to be annoyed with you. I'm going to see you as a human and understand like you're in a place, but also until you figure it out, I can't talk to you. Figure it out, And same thing with these streamers. I'm willing to march with you. I'll do a collaboration with you. I'll do these things. And also I can't collab with everybody. I can't collab with Hassan on my platform because it would violate my sense of ethics as for where I am right now, right? As a creator. Like I don't know how to incorporate him and not have it be dangerous for my community. Because whether or not we like it, Hassan doesn't exist in a vacuum. If I have Hassan on, then Destiny's community harasses me. If I talk to Hassan, his community harasses me. If I have Hassan on, then all of these adjacent communities are like, who the fuck is this? And then it becomes a whole thing, right? So I can't have him on. I can't, he's unsafe to collab with. But he won't see that because he'll say, that's not me, that's my audience. That's not me, that's Destiny's audience. That's not me, but it is you. Because you are choosing to engage in this bubble in this way. The reason I can do collaborations with philosophers or other content creators, mostly women, is because they are not engaging. I know people who are going to make videos about Hassan and decided not to because their community warned them that if they did, they would be harassed. And they were going to make positive videos about Hassan. Positive. And I was like, see? Like, there's like, you don't understand what's happening in female, femme, queer spaces because you guys just think this is a part of the game. That's why when I called out Destiny for his immoral actions, he thought I was playing a game. And I was like, I'm not playing a game with you. And I said, if you want to talk about this, we should talk about it in private because we should make it content. And he thought that was a way, he thought I was tricking him. Like, talk to me in private. And I was trying to be like, hey, if you want me to talk to you like a person, you can't make this dialogue content. But they don't know that. Okay, right? Let's go back.
From this R word, I think we should all just pay less attention to him, not the president, the other.
This is Natalie. Contra. I think we should all just pay less attention to him, not the president, the other one. Natalie win. Natalie Zionist win. Natalie win. Natalie, who, girl, if I ever tell the story about that one time, girl, and I don't want to, that's the thing. It's like I have a not personal, that's not even the right word. I had it's hard not to say personal because like it almost feels personal, but it's not even. Natalie was not a very healthy person when I knew her for the very short time I did. She was incredibly unhealthy. Like struggled with informed consent, unhealthy, which is not uncommon. It's basically, I'm used to it in this bubble. I'm used to people coming to me thinking I won't judge them and then asking me to engage in some variation where there's not informed consent. And I'm like, you can't do that, right? Okay, I've had lesbian YouTubers, educators claim that they engage in incredibly unethical behavior. And when I call them out, they're like, we can't hang out anymore. So though it looks, right, though it looks like, okay, the issue is an ethical one. These are ethical differences, not political ones. Politically, well, maybe at the time, but not now, obviously. But these are ethical differences. And so when people say politics are ethical, then show up and be ethical. Because then how can you build coalition with different political people if it's an issue of ethics? Now you're picking and choosing which one is the most important. And I'm saying the problem with this space is there's a multi-layered part of it that's also about interpersonal relationships. Let me jump to this really fast. So this just came out, and I want to explain this because if you take your family structure, your friendship structure, and then put it out to 8 billion people, that's what the world is. That's what Trump is and all these guys. Do you remember that Republican text chain where they were being like really racist and everything? Yeah, like none of these people are magical. All of these people are just like your brothers. All these people are just your friends. All these people are just like people you know at your supermarkets. None of these people are special or exceptional. The trick of the marketing is that they are. The trick of the marketing is even that you guys think I am. Remember that person I had to block because they would become like obsessed about like how privileged I was and how I made fuck you money? Girl, okay, I'm lucky if I make $70K a year. Everybody sit down. Okay? Everybody sit down. And that's before tax. Before tax. Okay? So you need to sit down. Okay? So all these people that are like, you make fuck you money, you make, girl, Hassan would never be able to live off $70K a year. Okay? He would literally die. Oh, so all these people that are like, okay, he wouldn't even be able, that's what I'm saying. Like, don't even come at me right now. Okay? Look at this. Are streamers really friends? This is Valkyrie and Cutie Cinderella, Ludwig, and Saikuno. That's what the tag is, right?
Overestimate how much streamers know each other.
Yeah.
People overestimate how much streamers know each other.
Yeah.
Ludwig said it best.
I am not your friend.
I'm not your friend.
It's hard because I understand it.
There's like a line and it's blurred.
It's funny too because I remember when we first started this podcast, I said something along the lines of like, yeah, Ray and I aren't really like friends.
We're not. We're literally got closer because we do this pod together.
And people were so mad at me for saying that. And I was like, no,
but it's just true.
I understand where viewers will see I stream with so-and-so every other week. That means we're best friends. It's like, they don't even know my name, you know, and that's actually really common because at the end of the day, like, we are coworkers.
Yeah.
We're very friendly
And there's
coworkers.
so many gamer houses.
There's so many
where
gamer houses.
people will like move in together because it
Yeah.
makes sense for rent. I've lived with so many people where I don't even see them. I lived at the Screamer house with Pokey, Janet, and Celine. During COVID, we hardly saw each other.
Yeah.
We were always streaming or always in our rooms and like hardly ever out and about. And it's the same with Saikuno. Even though I've lived with him, I hardly saw him.
Yeah.
Ever. And also hardly talked, but we're friends, right? So,
Right.
Cause like, but then it's like, what defines a friend? I know you mentioned like, if I don't know your last name,
This is
then
what
we're
I
probably
keep
not
saying.
friends.
If I do not know your last name, we are not friends.
Okay. Chez says, why make a podcast with someone who isn't your friend? I don't get it. Like, it must be a boring watch. Habibis, why would you make a podcast with your friends? This is a job. This is not hangout time with your friends. Everybody knows you shouldn't go into business with your friends. A podcast is a business. There's sponsors. It makes money. No, they're correct. Why would I make a podcast with my best friend? Why would I do that? Why would I talk about my personal life with a love? Why would I make a podcast unless I was in many ways exploiting my family or taking advantage of a situation in order to create dialogue that I know would go viral because people would want to see that it's controversial? Oops.
Legal to burn or deface? Dad, should it be legal to burn or deface the American flag?
Yes,
Wow.
should be illegal.
Illegal.
Oh,
He said illegal. That scared me there for a minute.
you know, I've defaced several American flags back in my street art days.
Yeah, and you should spend several years in jail.
What have you done to the flag, Chad?
And I would stand behind you and clap as you walk off into the jail cell.
For making a piece of art?
No, for burning the flag.
I never burned it. I spray painted flags with the phrase, none of this is real, and put them up around Los Angeles.
With flags? I thought you just did it with money.
No, I did it with money, American.
Okay, and it's not black and white, girls. If you want to make a podcast with your besties, do it. If you want to make a podcast with your parents, do it. But that's not the point. The point is that if you understand you're making content, then and I want the audience to know too, like, because the audience doesn't know, right? Some of the audiences really think they're watching, like, I don't know, like, I don't know how to say this because it's like guys who watch. Sometimes I do think it's like guys who think sex workers are their girlfriends. Sometimes I think audience members think they're watching like organic friendships. And I don't know how to tell you guys, it's not real. Like, it's real, but it's not real in the way you think. Like, Love is Blind is real, but it's not real in the way you think. Like, everything is real, but it's not real in the way you think. I don't know how to explain it. Like, this is real, but it's not real in the way you think. So, example, Hassan having this like family on and being excited that they support him is exactly the point. Like, these people want their own son to go to prison. They're not going to build a fucking coalition with you, stupid. So, like, all these people, they're like, oh my God, I just want to, like, we should class consciousness. Let's fight capitalism. These people would rather their own kids go to prison. I don't know why you think conservatives will build with you ever. Unless you eradicate bigotry, you have to go for the bigotry. You can't eradicate it, by the way. The world will always be bigoted. But you have to bring down the number of bigotry, the threshold of bigotry, the line of bigotry, right? Like, that's what I'm trying to make people understand, okay? And then again, like, Trisha and Ethan are being brought up as an example. Frenemies was so much fun, but they were never that close. Like, baby, like, okay, Habibis, I have cousins that I love more than anybody. We're not that close. So if all of a sudden I had a podcast with my cousin, you guys would think we talked every day because of the way we are with each other. But we don't, we're not that close. They don't know everything about me. They couldn't tell you about my thoughts or beliefs. They will defend me, but they won't really know me, right? So, like, again, what is knowing? So remember, when I had my fallout with Destiny, his community was like, you guys were friends. Destiny's like, I was so nice to her. She was a friend. Relax about that word friend. You need to relax. When I did collaboration with Contra and I stayed in Natalie's house for a work trip, everyone's like, oh my God, you guys must be so close. We're not that close. You stayed at Contra's house for 2 days and you're not close? Yeah, we're not that close. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's like this whole thing where people are like, well, how could I stay at someone's house and not be close? Easily. Okay. I have a YouTube guy on the internet right now becoming obsessed with me because he's mad that he thinks like I was like a sister to him or something. I'm like, bro, he's like, I used to go to her house. You came to my house for work and maybe 1 or 2 holidays, which my house was always open to strangers for holidays. We weren't close. You didn't know me. You know? So there's this issue that's happening, but it's not just YouTubers, it's everywhere. It's like growing up in a neighborhood and people are like, oh, are you guys friends? Well, it's like, well, sure, but what does that mean? It's not real friendship. Like, okay, Britt Hartley and I collabed, right? Great collaboration. Loved my collaboration with Britt Hartley. Look how cute we are together. Oh my God, we should totally date. We're not friends. We're both married also, but we're not friends. I mean, I don't, that'd be, maybe it would be nice, maybe it wouldn't, but we're not friends. But we had a great time. I love Britt Hartley. I love her. She's so great. She's so great. We're not friends. But look how good we look together. We should be, but not really. Cause also I'm kind of busy right now. I can't make new friends, but also like, we don't even know that we didn't, you know what I'm saying? It's like the assumption is, oh, you guys are so close, again. So when Ludwig said this, okay.
Coming clean politically, I don't know if you guys know much about me.
This is Cutie Cinderella's partner. So Cutie does a podcast with Hassan, and all of this is connected to politics and everything else. You guys think this is just YouTube drama? What I have radically accepted about life is everything that's happening on YouTube is everything that's happening in the White House. These people are just grown up teenagers. Trump and JD Vance and firing people who stand up against him. It's streamers with the power of the White House. That's what I'm trying to make you understand. It's not different. It's the same. Nothing's going to change unless we change.
I share probably a decent amount of politics with Hassan. Not everything.
Ludwig is a ruthless capitalist, okay?
I'm not a socialist. I like making money. I'm a fucking CEO here. But, some other maybe more social issues, sure. I'm also not even friends with Hassan. Legitimately, I'm not. He's not someone that I invite to like my birthday or things like that. He's someone I've done streams with, and I think they were fun. He's a streamer friend is the group I call, but we're not boys. My boys are fucking Slime, Aiden, Nick, the people that I hang out with actually on a week to week basis. When I retire, I will never speak to 95% of the streamers I collab with again. Hassan is part of that group. That's a fact. This is just the reality of life. Okay? Connor, I'm an actual friend with. Connor, I would actually speak with after. But most streamers, I wouldn't. It's just true. They wouldn't go to my funeral. I wouldn't go to their funeral. We would never speak again. The same thing that you would experience if you ever worked like a job and then retired from said job or moved on to a different job.
Okay, I agree with 100% of this. I've been waiting for people to get it. Why would they go to each other's funerals? How many funerals have you even been to? Do you guys go to every funeral of people you knew in high school? Do you guys go to funerals of your coworkers? You might, and that's nice, but why would you do that? You are not morally obligated to go to a funeral of a coworker. You know how many people have died while I've worked at a business? Why would I go to their funeral unless it made sense? Unless it was a community effort? Like, why would I go? Especially if it was he's talking about a funeral 95 years from now. Listen to what he said. When I retire, when I'm old, when he's 90, why would he go to Hassan's funeral when he's 90? Maybe if Hassan died now and Cutie Cinderella and Hassan are still together, as friends, but when they're 90, first of all, Cutie and Ludwig are probably not going to be dating, right? So process that information. When he's 90, Cutie and him probably won't be together because, he wants kids, she doesn't want kids, or there's a whole thing, they have a values difference. Okay, Hassan and Cutie probably won't be friends. They'll all be 90, nobody will know who they are. Why would they go to each other's funerals? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so then Hassan made jokes about it.
That's a coworker. People saying Ludwig in the chat. That's a coworker, guys. Okay,
Oh,
he will
a
not.
coworker.
Yeah, he's a coworker. He's not a friend. He wouldn't go to my funeral.
He wouldn't?
That's what he said. Oh, you don't know. No, you didn't know about that.
No, he said that?
Yeah, he did.
Would you have went to his?
I mean, yeah, to fucking flex on my ops. I'd be like this. Damn, the spread's too good. I forgot who died.
Yo, okay.
Funeral spread too good. People saying Ludwig in the chat. That's a
Okay, then Lud said this.
I make the funeral. If you watch my stream, I ask every streamer I've ever streamed with, would you go to my funeral? I make that comment all the damn time. This is what I realized, because at first I got heated. And then I was like, oh, none of these viewers are my viewers. None of these viewers are my viewers, because they would understand what I meant. What I meant is when I retire from streaming, and we die, you know, hopefully deep into our 80s or whatever the average lifespan will be when we're older, we will not be in contact in that way to be attending each other's funerals. Which is why I always ask when I do a collab to XX Choco Bars, XX Janet, would you come to my funeral? And she goes, no, I will not. But the takeaway is I don't fuck with Hassan, I'm not going to his funeral, which is not my intent. I think what I said might be I might have said the quiet part a little too loud for some people. A lot of people are very insanely, not parasocial with their streamer, but parasocial with streamer groups and relationships. Hey, I'm not friends with 95% of the streamers I collab with, which I will stand on. A lot of people only follow me or only talk to me or only want to collab with me because I've had a certain level of success streaming and making YouTube videos. When I did my saying every slur video that is unlisted on my channel and Tim pushes it live and I get for real canceled, a lot of the people I collab with will never talk to me again because I will be a liability to them in whatever value I'm.
In other words, and this is what I'm saying, you guys are saying it's a bubble thing. Of course it's a bubble thing. But then that's the point. Of course it's a bubble thing. Why would Ludwig go to his funeral if it's not a part of his bubble, if it's not culturally a part of his bubble? I'm saying the same thing has to, you have to respond. You can't say, oh, it's a cultural thing. Okay, but it's not his culture. Why would he go to the funeral? Right? You're saying, oh, it's a weird thing to say out loud. Is it? We ask for more authenticity. We ask for more honesty. We're asking for a world that's more fair. I think it's really fair for people not to expect me to go to your funeral. I'm already burdened by so much. Why the fuck am I going to your funeral? I don't know you. Why the fuck am I going out of my way to go to a fucking funeral for somebody who like doesn't even know me? No, I'm not going to your funeral. With that said, sometimes there have been funerals, at least in my immediate family, where hundreds of people show up because that person is not a celebrity, but such an amazing community member that those people want to go pay them respect. And that's why they're offended, because you want to believe you're entitled to that respect when you die. Well, then you better live a life where people organically want to go to your fucking funeral. Instead of being offended that nobody thought they would go to your funeral. Who are you? Girl, there's a chance that my siblings won't even go to my parents' funeral. The audacity of a streamer to think you are entitled to someone going to your funeral when people's kids aren't even going to their parents' funerals. Where is the humanity? Where is the deep knowing? Where is the humility? It's a very serious matter to go to someone's funeral in a lot of places. It's a big deal. And so again, for us to, because, I get it. Weddings, funerals, baby showers have been so shallow, have become such an event that you guys literally forget how personal funerals are. You have forgotten how sacred a funeral is. It's a place of mourning and celebration. It is not a place for you to get a TikTok in. And so I think the humanity has lost its grip with how personal a funeral is, how personal a wedding is. That's why people have two weddings. If they're celebrities, they have two weddings, the public wedding and the personal wedding. And I'm saying we have so forgotten. As a community, we need to ground ourselves in community once again and remind ourselves, Ludwig is correct. You might not like how he said it, but he's correct. Why would 90-year-old Ludwig be in community with Hassan and go to his funeral? Hassan it's not like they're close. Okay. Now, this isn't just streamers. I want to use larger celebrities as an example of the same thing happening. Okay. So Tiffany Haddish, controversial. Not everybody loves her. Fine. But Henry Coleman worked with her and has this really interesting story that I want you to hear because it's the same conversation. And yes, we're going to go back to the Hassan Contra Destiny video because it all connects.
Best friend into the day we found out the movie was at 100 million. And I was on the phone with her. I was like, friend, I'm so proud of you. The movie's at 100 million. We was on the phone. And she's like, friend? I was like, yeah, bitch. We best friends. She was like, friend. She's like, friend, nigga, friend. I was like, yeah. I'm so proud of you. Best friend. We have been on the phone like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. We have been talking. And she was like, have you ever been to my house? I was like, damn. Like, no, you're right. I ain't never been to your. But I was there when a nigga was whooping your ass. Like, I was, what I'm saying? I done seen other shit. I done seen, I've been there for some shit. So, yeah. She's like, we ain't da-da-da-da-da. I guess when I said best friend, I'm proud of you. I don't know what spirit it triggered in her, but she had to get me straight right then. She's like, nigga, this ain't that. I don't know if you saw the thing with Brorilla, her sister went off on her about not helping her or some shit.
Yeah.
And I agree, like, no one successful owes you anything. You can't call one successful person I know and have them say, I asked them for shit. My family was asking, like, why you don't talk to Tiffany? Da-da-da-da-da. when Tiffany Haddish came to Memphis, she pretty much stayed with me and my lady. We parked, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole week before she went to do girls trip, which was like 2 weeks, she was like, Henry, you should come to New Orleans. I'm about to go down here and take the boot. So bitch, I had a warehouse job. I had to go, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I had to go clock in and get on the forklift. So I was like, man, I hate I ain't go. But like we still talk to rap every day. So when the shit went down, and we were still talking, you know, movie taping. We did show. We did Weekend Together in Boston. We did a couple cities together. Like we was still like, I'm talking about like this. When she told me I had never been to her house, I realized you're right, I haven't. But I had.
Damn, that was a tough comment.
Is what?
That was a tough comment.
I realized it hit me like in the stomach. I was like, damn, this bitch right. I ain't never been to her house. Like, but I knew her before she. And I say them words like, yeah, you're right. I knew her, and we like. I think you do when you doing with shows with people all the time, and you seeing them every day, and you watching it, you start feeling like a camaraderie and like a you know what I'm saying? Imagine being every night we at different spots together, listening to each other, and like, you know, you pep talking and no, don't quit, don't kill yourself, don't, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is when you're in the trenches of it before you graduate. And that access keeps the rest of us motivated. You know what I'm saying? When one person leaps up and then you're like, oh, just cuss off the Jew man so I can't touch you no more. And you know what I'm saying? Just closes all the doors. You're like, damn.
Okay, the point I'm showing you guys this, and we're not saying that Hassan reacted to it and weird about it because Chester saying, why are you acting like Hassan overreacted? No, I think it's funny that you guys are calling Ludwig antisocial. You know, as an autistic girly, I asked my friends, like, how long do you think we'll be friends for? They're like, why are you asking me that? And I was like, because obviously we're not going to grow old together. And they were like, why would you say that? And I was like, I feel like I can't imagine us as friends in our 90s. So when do you think we're going to stop being friends? You can say anything you want to say about that, but it's just like, it's true. And I just want to know, what do you think? What's more intimate than asking the question that's so obviously on my mind? I wonder how long we'll be friends. Instead of us building some fake future together that I didn't know I wasn't consenting to. Because what happens is, people will socialize, they'll get together, they'll build, quote, friendships, and then you'll wonder why people throw you under the bus the moment, because you weren't really, there wasn't anything there. That's why I say there's a difference between inner circle and outer circle, which is an autistic trait, by the way, to signify which friends are the ones you go to war with, which friends are the ones you die with, and which friends are the ones you eventually stop talking to. So when we have these conversations, you must recognize it's also an extension of everything that happens socially around the world. Trump, his friends, his connections, YouTube, the confusion everyone's having, why predators end up existing in these spaces and getting away with it, why people fight on Twitter instead of having the conversations, why everything is the way that it is, why you're not talking to your mom or talking to your mom. Everything is connected. You know, we talk about how everything is political, but you're not talking about how everything is a relationship. Everything is social. Everything is a relationship too. Okay? So, you know, when we're talking about the end of the world, we're talking about a war, we're talking about a civil war, we're talking about genocides happening. God forbid I ask somebody, you know, where are you going to be? What's our life look like? What about buying houses together? You know, in some places, people buy houses with their friends, not their partners. So I'm saying if that's your bubble, you know what I mean? These are very intimate and important conversations to be having. You might not be ready to hear them. But that's why I say I want to be the adult in the room. I want to be the person that says, let's talk about it. Are you going to my funeral? I have siblings who call me all the time and say, is it okay if I don't go to mom and dad's funeral? Yeah. Are you going to go after them and say, how dare you not go to their funeral? That's so antisocial. Or are you going to fucking open your brain and think about why that is? What have you done to create a circumstance in which I'm not going to your funeral? And what is the reality of the circumstance in which you can't come to my house? And what is the reality of the circumstance that I can't build coalition with you? And what is the reality of the circumstance in which you cannot be trusted? Or in which, you know, maybe the context of the situation is simply, we're not that close. It's not that deep. We have to understand that you're playing out your childhood trauma in real time, and we are all the people who will suffer from it, including you. That all of these people are not going to therapy, they're not doing the work, they're not engaging in reality, and so when reality in any capacity hits them, Ludwig is putting down a boundary of consent. Ludwig is saying, I don't consent to going to your funeral, and you're saying he's a bad person. Does he now not get consent? Do we want informed consent or not? And how dare Hassan get the social credibility of being socially acceptable and full of all this friendship he doesn't give any attention to? All these people want friends and don't want to put any of the labor into that friendship. You know, you guys think it's funny, but when I listen to Fear and I listen to how they talk about Hassan as a friend, he is a bad friend. at least by their own stories, he would not qualify. Like I would have problems if he was my friend, right? Because he doesn't sound like he's as able to invest true quality time with people. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm just going off what they've told me in stories. And I'm saying, yeah, I wouldn't be friends with that person. But also maybe I'd be casual friends, like, social friends. And that'd be cool. But that's what I mean. When we have these conversations, what are you? And then people decide, oh, well, you knew this person and you knew what was going on. You knew, right? Chep says, when you go out for drinks with your coworkers after work, would you consider yourself friends type? Well, maybe. It depends. Not really, but kind of. I would call them, I think socializing with coworkers outside of work. Okay, here's how I think about it. If I only see you in group dynamics, we're definitely not friends. And if we are friends, we're casual friends. We're group friends. Right? But I think what he said, this actor said that was very pointed, is that when you work together, you're going through things together, you talk about suicide or your feelings, you start to feel close to people, but you're not. Guys, I can have the most intimate, when I was on road trips together, I was sitting on a bench and an old man came and sat next to me and told me his whole life story. And it was so emotionally deep and vulnerable that I was like, oh my God, I really just connected with a human being. And then I said, okay, bye. And then I got in my car and left. I did this on another road trip. I met an old man. He came up to me. He was nice to me. Him and his buddy came up to me, shared their whole life story. We were crying together. It was beautiful. And I actually stayed in contact with him for about 2 years after that road trip. He would message me and I would message him. And I'd be like, hey, how are you doing? He was like 70. We weren't friends. We were human beings on a journey in which we overlapped for a temporary amount of time and then it dissipated. But it wasn't, he would say we were friends. It was a connection. It was a moment in time in which something profound and amazing was happening. And then we moved on with our life. And that's what I'm saying is missing from this lived experience through politics is such a superficial way to build connection with other people. Content creation is such a superficial way to build content or connection with people, right? There's really something profoundly missing from our relationships because we're so performative. I'll go to your funeral, performative. I'll go to your baby shower, performative. I'll go to your wedding, performative. None of my best friends came to my wedding. Not my sister, not my brothers, not my best friend of 27 years. Not one single of one of my best friends, not anybody from my family came to my wedding. Are they bad friends? Are they bad people? Or were they just literally unable to leave their fucking 9-to-5s to come to my wedding because I got married during a work day? You know what I mean? In another country. That's what I'm saying. You're not letting people be people. Who would I have been if I said, I need you to take off work and take this $400 plane ride and I need you to come to Croatia to be at my fucking wedding? Who would I have been if I did that to my friends? A bad fucking friend. You meet people where they are in the moment of their existence. You humanize people down to the very real reality that they are too tired to text you back, even though you see them posting on Instagram. Because you do not understand how much easier it is to post on Instagram than to text people back. You meet people where they are. If you don't want to do it, don't be their friends and don't go to their funerals. And all of this connects to the illusion of the voter thinking Trump and Theo are best friends. JD Vance and Charlie Kirk. And they are fucking with your literal lives. While you sit here and go, oh my God, Hassan is friends with Cutie Cinderella. They are all fucking with your literal lives. You're fucking with their lives too, by the way. You're also causing them so much unnecessary stress because you are playing into a narrative that for them, they know is a lie and it eats at them, which is why now they're making podcasts about it. Now people are talking about it. We are bad for each other. Humanity is so bad for one another because we are not willing to contend with the reality for what it is in the most compassionate and loving way, the most compassionate, loving, humanizing way. To accept that people are on a journey and not everything matches up perfectly. And yes, like some people are bad or good. It's not about, oh, I want to live in a reality that's like blunt and cruel. I want to live in a reality that's compassionate and loving. That says, thank you for this time we were friends. It's okay that we're not friends anymore. You don't have to be friends with me. You know, it's funny, we live in a world where people say, oh, you're clout chasing, you just want to be friends with these YouTubers. And then when someone says, like, I don't want to be your friend, they're like, what, you don't want to be my friend? Which one is it? Are we all clout chasing? Or it's like, hey, I don't want to be your friend. Can we be coworkers though? I would love to be coworkers. I don't want to be your friend. If I wanted to be your friend, one-on-one, we could be friends. I do have YouTuber friends. We talk in private and we have 2-hour phone calls and we catch up and it's the greatest experience ever because it happens in private. where it should happen. Because if it's at work, it's not our friendship, we're at work. So somebody said to me once, you know, you spent all of those hours on Stream with Destiny building your friendship. That was work. That was what I would literally talk to my audience on stream and be like, hey, I already know the answer to this, but let's ask Destiny for fun. Because I thought we were collabing to build, like I thought we were building, you know, and then I would go to my audience was in on it. And I'd be like, let's go. And his audience, and he wasn't in on it. So I would ask him questions to decisions I had already made in hopes to like fuel conversation and have fun and build ideas together, which I learned later on was not what he was doing. And then he would get in his head that, oh, Brittany's really coming to me for advice. And I'm like, I'm not coming to you for advice. I mean, I'm coming to you in the guise of advice because that's what makes good content. And the same way on MasterChef, Joe asks the most basic fucking questions he already knows answers to, so the audience gets to learn. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't come to stream and assume everybody knows what I know. So I have to get everybody on the same page, which means we have to go over the stuff that I already know in order to get you there yourselves, which is why I say, oh my God, I'm so shocked about this really racist thing I saw, because it should be shocking. Instead of people saying, I can't believe you're shocked about racism. You should be saying, yes, we should be shocked about racism. Right? Okay, now, right? Jess says, do you think YouTubers who collab often or a few times would think it's a friendship due to being online? You have to consent to friendship. You wouldn't assume somebody's your boyfriend because you went out to eat with them, would you? Why would you assume somebody is your friend? You need to ask them, hey, do you want to be friends? Now, of course, they might lie to you, which is what Contra did, what Shoe on Head did, what all those people in the past did, where I was like, hey, do you even want to be friends? Because if you don't want to be friends, we don't have to be friends. And they were like, no, we're friends, and then ghosted me, both of them. So, of course, you also have to be willing to say, which is uncomfortable because you guys can't even handle the funeral comment. So, of course, these people are going to lie. You can't even handle the funeral comment from Ludwig. You are making the world a worse place because you won't handle a funeral comment. God forbid somebody actually get to consent to being your friend. You're not giving people a chance to consent. Let people say they don't want to be your friend. I don't care if you want to be my friend. It's not going to ruin my day. And I've had this happen. But of course those girls lie to me because they don't know what to do. It's a weird social interaction. They're not used to people asking bluntly, like, hey, if you don't want to be friends, we don't have to be friends. You guys can't even handle a funeral comment. Do you know what I'm saying? This is why I love philosophy, because it forces you to face yourself that you are absolutely contributing bad to the universe. All of us are contributing bad. We have to make a space to allow the social norm to be. You don't have to be friends with me. You don't have to be friends with me. You know what I mean? My day does not change if you're my friend or not. I don't know you like that. And also, just because we're friends, it doesn't mean we're close friends. I'm just getting to know you. Right? Okay, now, with all of that said, go back to this video and see if it feels different now, right?
Here's some active and disparaging.
I rewound it a little bit.
What this movement is, what this movement represents. Many of them can also be identified with Israel first politics as well. Interesting. Or in this sex pest case, obviously a personal vendetta that he's carried for almost a decade. I promise you, Pod Save America, we do not need to hear from this R word. I think we should all just pay less attention.
So this is Natalie Wynn. Natalie Wynn in the big 2026 is saying we should pay less attention to Hassan. She has learned nothing in 10 years. Absolutely nothing. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe this girlie that everyone praised as this philosophy major never did anything. Could she not look in the mirror once and introspect? Absolutely no growth has come out of this woman. That's amazing.
Him, not the president, the other one. Maybe we lived out a little too hard. Let's go back to talking about getting Liz Cheney for a round 2 on the campaign trail. What is this? Your wiki is currently getting more views than Rogan's. Since March 24th, Hassan the Hun's Wikipedia page has seen more daily traffic than Joe Rogan's every single day. Oh, nice. Oh, hell yeah. Zionist acting like it's not about Israel.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like he wants to be famous. He wants everybody to know his name. That should be suspicious to you. And I get why he wants to be that, because if I was Hassan, I would want that too. But I'm not Hassan, because I know that's not the answer. And now people might say, okay, Brittany, what is the answer then? What is the answer? Because you can't say, oh, it's therapy and introspection. It's be less bad every day. The answer, be less bad every day. Can you do that? In every small way you can figure out, could you be less bad every day? Or are you going to keep saying, I don't have to be less bad every day because look at all the good I'm doing? Because the road to hell is paved in good intentions. You're so busy counting all the ways that you're good, you're ignoring all the ways that you were bad.
Israel, Shannon Watts did the same thing.
Which, by the way, is extrospection.
Too. To pretend the debate to push Piker to the fringes over Israel is not only wrong, it's irresponsible. Anti-Semitism aside, Piker has a long list of indefensible anti-American racist misogynistic offenses. Unsure why so many Dems are eager to defend such a bad guy. We all know what the real reason is, and we all know the real reason is Israel, because you have openly, as a part of Third Way, pushed Democrats to literally align with right-wing forces who actually do demonstrate, maybe not anti-American, but racist and misogynistic offenses. The problem is, once again, in the old era, in the old age of the media, if I was some college activist, or if I was just like some guy with no platform whatsoever, then yes, most things that you heard about me would be from the gatekeepers, right? You would just hear what Dana Bash had to say about me. You'd just hear about Jake Tapper. You would just hear what Mark Levin had to say about me. And that's the only information that you would be able to make up your mind on, right? Like you would be like, this is the only thing I know about this guy. He seems terrible. In the new media environment, it doesn't work that way. I sometimes have either a competitive or sometimes a larger audience than these guys do, right? So people can hear from me directly. So it doesn't work that way. That's kind of what Ezra Klein was talking about. The through line in the freakouts over Rogan and Piker is snobbery and nostalgia. The GOP has already embraced new media, but many liberals still want manor mavens, legacy media gatekeepers who went to Yale and tell them what is acceptable to discuss. That's it. Why does ContraPoints hate you so much? Is it just because you called out her bad Israel take she had? I'm not a fan of her, but she hates you for real. Yeah, she's just leaned into being a total defender of the Democratic Party, has like some right-wing points on that as well, and is, I don't know why she just has like such a strong affinity towards the nation state of Israel. Could be, some unchecked Islamophobia potentially, but.
Well, based off of her letter, it's because she has friends and she's moved by her friends, which is hard. You have family or friends, right? But her letter, we went over it on stream. It's a bad letter. It's a bad point. Contra hasn't learned in all these years that have gone by. But I knew she wasn't going to learn because when I met her, when I met Contra, I was shocked at how a lot of these, especially video essayists, they need their script. When I met Natalie, I was like, let's talk about philosophy. Let's talk about politics. The girl couldn't talk. Okay? The girl couldn't talk, and she really struggled to express herself, right? She really struggled. And there was like this whole thing. And this is why I say, like, I know how people are treating each other, right? And don't get me wrong. It's not just drama. It's about humanity. I could never treat Natalie and Lindsay Ellis the way they treated me. I have never, you know what I mean? Like, and if I have, I've apologized. If I have ever done anything to somebody even close, I've apologized or done my best to tell the story and admit to what I did. I could never treat them the way they treated me. It would haunt me for the rest of my life. And the fact that these girls keep moving forward with their life over what they did, and that's what I'm saying, the embodied values. I used to wonder, how does Destiny sleep at night? The things he does to women. How does Saikuna sleep at night? How do you sleep at night? I'm haunted by mistelling a story if I get someone's shirt color wrong. How are you even living with yourselves? And I'm saying that tells me it's not embodied. That tells me that because you're a good video essayist or because you make good content, people will ignore the fact that interpersonally or in general, you're deeply struggling. And that deep struggle comes out. That's why Natalie drunk texts or drunk X's all the time, because she has a problem. Everybody knows it's an open secret that Natalie has a problem. But you see how she's just like a joke we make fun of now? Because we're watching like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's so bad. That's so bad that nobody in her life has tried to help her sober up or anything. It's just like an open secret that everyone just goes. And that was the problem I ran into with her too. We're like, she couldn't consent because she couldn't stay sober. So when she would ask, I was like, we can't do anything. You're not sober. And this is not the first time I've had this happen with other YouTubers. I was like, we can't do anything. You're not sober. And they're just like, this, and I'm saying, you guys all you have problems. These people have problems. And I'm saying it's showing up in their politics. And that's why I say you can't separate it. You can't say, let's build a coalition together with a bunch of people who are morally bankrupt in private as long as publicly they're saying the right things. Because that's what Destiny used to say. Destiny used to say, why are you calling me out for cheating or abusing people or being a bad dad if my politics is good? First of all, your politics are shit. And second of all, because it matters. And the same way people were like, who cares what Bill Clinton did with Monica Lewinsky? He was a good president. No. I'm saying your personal is your political. Your political is your personal. So you acting like identity politics is like a distraction, maybe the word, maybe the construct around that concept is, but I am not a distraction. My lived experience is not a distraction. Minority community suffering is not a distraction. We are not a distraction.
Yeah, she became Hasbara points. She was quiet for the longest time on the issue of Israel and then chose to speak out somewhat in favor of Israel and very critical of the pro-Palestinian wing of the party. Literally, I think it was 2 days before there was this massive sea change because there was tremendous amounts of coverage about Israel doing a famine in Gaza. Like, it was unbelievable. 2 years in, she didn't speak about Israel at all. No peep. Her fans were constantly demanding she say something. Then she went out to Reddit, which is the most, at the time, the most pro-Israel platform that she could find, and released this massive statement. The statement itself was flawed. I guess that's the, best, that's the nicest thing I can say about it, right? The statement itself was flawed, and it basically put the blame on the pro-Palestinian activists and the advocates and the people that.
Which, by the way, we're going to talk about it today about Catherine Louet because people were like, how could you think this woman is a liberal? Because you keep blaming the leftists. You're blaming the woke police. You're blaming I want to say slurs. You're using this logic that says, to me, I don't know what you mean by when you say liberal, but to me, when I think of a liberal, I do think of people that are like, why can't make comedy funny again? Let's say slurs again. And I'm just like, bro, I'm tired, bro. Like, again, I think it's like you're fighting for the weirdest things, but people were mad. But then the people who were mad on her behalf were TERFs. So I was like, so you are liberals or you are radical feminists, but you're TERFs. So like, it's confusing so we're going to talk about it today because Catherine she's on the podcast. Where is the video? Hello. The Institute of Art Ideas, how liberals paved the way for Trump. We're going to talk about it. Like, I want to talk about this. This stuff is interesting to me. But from a humanity perspective, none of these people are embodying a humanity. All these people keep talking about humanity. They keep talking about caring about people. But I don't see the care and compassion. I don't see the love. It's like very Mother Teresa-esque, where on the surface she looks like she cares, but she's torturing people. She's torturing people. And I'm saying, I feel like you're torturing people. Where is the love? Where is the actual compassion? Where's the actual need to actually feed people and care about people? If you also, where is the actual genuine compassion to suffer with? Where is your compassion? I want to see it.
That were dominated, people who were arrested for advancing this cause, for speaking truth to power, punished relentlessly for it. Right?
Obviously, Contra, her post lacks compassion. Where is your compassion? Where is your embodied feeling? Like, when you watch these videos of Palestine, are you allowing yourself to feel it? Because if you're not, you need to feel it. You need to open up your space to feel it. But in politics, they don't want you to feel anything because they say it is a sign of weakness. You need to feel. You need to have both the logic and the feeling. You need to have the embodied experience of feeling what these people are going through, what trans people are going through, what Black communities are going through, what people are going through. So you know how serious it is. Instead of this performative, through the political lens, we are all like frameworks and structures. We are people who build frameworks and structures. But first, we are people. And even more than that, we're living creatures on a planet. And more than that, we're not alone on this planet. And more than that, we are not alone in this universe, most likely, probably, just probability wise. Okay, so you need to get to the humanity of it all, really.
She basically said, oh, you're showing these atrocities. It's and it's, making people feel bad. And it also hurt the Democratic Party's chances of winning. It was this ridiculous statement. And the timing of it was so bad. The timing of it was so bad. Like, if she had just kept quiet, she probably would not have received so much backlash. But not only did she, come out with this ridiculous statement. She did it right before there was like unlimited coverage on Israel doing a famine and murdering Palestinian children in a way that was impossible to ignore. So I think, content creators like this, I myself am not, outside of this group either. Nobody likes to be yelled at. Nobody likes to be told that they're wrong, right? And
True.
She was inundated with unlimited statements about how wrong she was and how much of a genocidaire she was. And that probably hardened her position. And she, for some weird reason, decided that I was like the primary critic of her statement, I think. Yeah. I mean, it is also because like, it is also.
I appreciated the humanization. I appreciated the awareness. Like nobody likes to be yelled at or said they're wrong. And look, I really am passionate on my stream because I'm talking to my viewers, as I assume Hassan is too. If Hassan ever made a video about me and he was criticizing me, I would in good faith assume he was just being passionate versus like Destiny weaponized versus other boys on the internet who are mad at me. I've seen them literally weaponized, like purposely misconstrue. Like I really would assume in good faith that Hassan would disagree with my ideas. And I would, because there's nothing about my personal life that he could even attack if he's truly on the left, right? Because I haven't done anything. Like that's the dilemma, is like these predators are yelling at me, or these men who are like, I can't be racist, I dated a black girl. That's not true. Like that's what I mean. Like that is liberal to me. Liberal is thinking I can't be racist because I dated a black girl. That's like, I'm not saying it's racist. I'm saying that to think that's liberal. To think that is proof. It's like, oh, I'm not homophobic, I have gay kids. Okay, but are you homophobic? It's like you're doing this thing that it doesn't tell me you've thought about it. And it feels very like also old. Like I thought we learned this like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, that like who you date isn't enough. Like who you're around isn't enough. You can't say, I'm not racist, I have black friends. I thought we all got the memo. We don't say that. So the fact that the boys on the internet who are mad at me say exactly that rhetoric and wonder why I think they're conservative or liberal, you know what I'm saying? And so when I see Hassan, I go, he kind of does the same thing, but with women. But you guys don't see it. And I get it. I get that you don't see it. But I see it. And I'm saying, what do you mean by that? Why are you saying that? Why are you talking like that? Why? If he was my brother, I'd say, hey, why'd you say that? Don't talk like that. Don't talk about women like this, especially at work. What are you doing? That's so dehumanizing. You leave your coworker alone. That's how I would talk to him if he was my brother. I'd be like, shame on you. Think about how mom would feel if she heard you say this. This is gross. And that's why we look at Trump and we think about, look at the way he talks about women. Piggy, be quiet, piggy. How is that different than him being, what is different than Trump saying, oh, she's so beautiful. Oh, wow. She's so gorgeous. And Hassan going, she's so fucking hot. What is the difference? What is the difference? What is the difference? Now you might say, oh, Laverne flirted back. Well, so do these women with Trump. These girls who are flirting with Trump, they're not flirting. It's a performative thing people do when they're socially together because they think the audience wants it and they think it will make people feel happy. And maybe you'll think Hassan did the same thing because Laverne is much older. That really Hassan was the victim because Hassan was put in a awkwardly social situation where Laverne took it sexual and now Hassan has to play into it. But I'm saying, stop it. None of you should have put each other in that situation. Now I say this as somebody who used flirting as a mask because usually it would work and people would feel good about themselves, and it doesn't work anymore. It's out. And I'm saying I'm not going to do that anymore. I've already learned it's not good, but you're still doing it in the big 2026. And I stopped doing it a few years ago. So I'm saying, I get it. You're not a bad person, but stop doing it. Stop doing it. We're not doing it anymore. I'm trying to help you. The way I wish somebody would have come to me and be like, Britt, we're not doing that anymore. I'm like, my bad. New mask. New social mask. Yeah. I'm just trying to help, girl. Because it's not going to look good in 5 years. You don't look like Katy Perry in 5 years. You know what I'm saying? You're going to look like a predator. Maybe you are one, though, like Katy Perry. But, like, I don't know yet. I don't know if you're a predator yet. All I know is, like, you have to stop. So, let's go.
So because of this as well, I think maybe, I don't know, like her being, her doing something with Hillary Rodham Clinton. She thinks you're a community harasser, not understanding that you share similar audiences. Yeah, it's almost like an Ethan Klein moment, right? It's an Ethan Klein thing where it's like, oh, it can't be my own statements being reflected on by my.
But that's how I feel about Hassan. Oh, Ethan goes, why do people hate me? It's because I'm Jewish. Contra goes, why do people hate me? I don't get it. That's how I feel sometimes with Hassan fans in my chat. Not 99% of you are great, by the way. But the 1% that wasn't, it's like you're like, I can't criticize Hassan for anything because he's doing the Lord's work. But it's what he's saying. I'm criticizing for his, you know what I'm saying? It all feels the same. I'm saying criticize me. Make videos about me. Heck, maybe, you know, if somebody I respected in this space said something about me, I would take it so seriously. If people who I don't respect make videos on me, go ahead.
Own community that I've cultivated, many of which are anti-Zionist and on the side of truth and justice here, on the side of the Palestinians.
Oh, thank you, chat, for bringing that up. It can be more dangerous for femmes to mask by flirting because consent gets assumed and it leads to asking for it. That's what happened to me. I got introduced to the Destiny space as a progressive space with sex workers and lots of positive people. So I came in super sex positive, super flirty, super fun. I was like flirting and joking with everybody. And I was like, we're having fun because that's what I would do in my sex positive spaces and my queer spaces and then they weaponized it against me. And I was like, what's happening? Shaming me, disgusted with my behavior. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Misinterpreting, thinking I was serious. And I was like, what is this space? And then I realized, it dawned on me like, oh my God, what is this space? Guys, I did go in blind. Biggest mistake of my life. Out of everyone I've ever collabed with, that is my biggest regret because I did not do my research. I took it for granted. I should have known better. Like, it hurt to know Lindsay Ellis and Contra were talking shit. That hurt as a girly. Like, why would you do that? Okay, but it is dangerous when men do it because my life, I had never been harassed by a community more. I had never been like the threatening emails I got, the threatening messages I got, the videos, people accusing me of stuff. Like, the whole thing was so scary. And then I was like, this is the boy bubble. Like, the girlies talking shit on you, whatever. Like, I can handle some girly gossip. The boys, it was 2 years of so much stress. And that's why I say, like, I'm trying not to pick fights with these boys, but I also am not going to back down when I know I'm right. So that's always the balance, right? But these boys, their communities are scary. And that's why they do it. That's why they weaponize their audience. That's why they dox people. That's why they're like, that's why when I burned the bridge with Destiny, or when he burned the bridge, and the first thing he said is like, who has anything on Brittany? That's what he said. He said, who has dirt on Brittany? They're disgusting. They're bad people. They're bad people. And the fact that there are still boys on the internet who are even feeling entitled to do it now, because I made a commentary video about them, and they feel like, oh, I'm going to call Brittany off for all this stuff. Like, and joke's on them. By the way, do you know why I love my audience? Because you guys know everything. That's what's funny. I literally rewatch my content with you. We bring up old Brittany posts and I go, oh my God, Brittany 2017, Brittany 2016. And then we all laugh about it. So when these boys are like, look what I found on her, joke's on you. We already know. You're doing this thing where you think like, oh my God, Brittany put out this like post mimicking H3H3. You guys want to see it? It's so funny. So when I was an H3H3 fan, which Frenemies was it, bro. I was having fun. Okay. I took this photo and my sister thought, and my siblings thought it was so funny. Let me show you. And this YouTuber pulls it on stream and goes, oh, Brittany, are you a fan of Ethan? Are you a fan of Ethan? As if I didn't already show my audience this photo, which is so funny. And they were like, oh my God, Brittany, what is this? Who cares, bro? This is it? This is what you're coming at me for? That's what I'm saying. What is this content? And I'm saying, okay, look how young I am. Like, this is obviously, what is this, 8 years ago? Almost 10 years ago? What is this, 8 years ago? Okay. Like, and? Like, what do you want me to do with this photo? I was openly a Teddy Fresh wearer. I was openly a fan. I was openly very, like, committed to Ethan changing as a person, as was Hassan, as was many people. You know what I mean? So them being like, oh, this is it. I'm like, this is it. So anyways, when we have these conversations, right, it's all connected. So I think politics really is connected to the interpersonal, the relationship with self and everything outside of self. I think people can change. I think people can come together. I think people can go in a direction. I think people can be good people. I would love if Hassan in 5 years said, guys, I've been going to therapy and it's radically changed my life. Guys, I've been realizing the harm I've been doing in my own life. Here are all the ways I've changed. Guy, like, I want to see Hassan grow. I am rooting for it so aggressively. I am spiritually rooting for it like I am for all of these boys. The one thing I won't do is the same mistake I made with Destiny and every one of those boys, Sneeko and everybody else. I will not go down with that ship, and I will not publicly collab with them. Because all of those boys at the end of the day chose themselves over all the marginalized communities. And I don't think Hassan has proven he won't do that. I think you guys think he has, some people. I don't see the evidence yet. Because I don't see an embodied belief. You know what men, I would say, they would never. Dr. Kirkhonda, FD Signifier, like Michael Burns. Like, I would never, to myself, I think they feel so embodied to me. Like, their beliefs feel so embodied. I would be shocked. I would be like, yo, I am literally shocked. But Hassan, I don't know. I could see it. It feels very probable, possible. It feels very possible, you know? And so again, that's the only hesitation I have is he doesn't feel embodied. And so keep doing you politically. You make a great politician, but you know what I mean? And again, I'm not responsible for if FD or if Michael Burns or any of these people that I do like and respect go and change. Like if they make horrible statements, that has nothing to do with me. But it does feel a little bit like Hassan is different. It feels like if I say I love Hassan and I am supportive of Hassan, then if Hassan goes down, now Brittany's bad. It doesn't feel that connected with FD and Michael Burns. And a bit of it is because I think they're people and Hassan isn't a person. He's an idea. I think Michael Burns and FD Signifier, I can hold them in my hands and understand them, right? Chet says, you think Hassan will become Ethan? I wouldn't phrase it like that. I don't know what he'll become. I'm saying unless he keeps deconstructing, yes, he will become Ethan, because if you don't keep deconstructing and introspecting, you will become stagnant. You know? So it's not he will become Ethan Klein. It's Ethan Klein became stagnant, and any form of stagnation will lead to this. That's all that means. You know, but I wouldn't say it would be like a literally one-to-one. I mean, Ethan's his own person, but the stagnation part of it will be true. You know, Chet says Hassan wants to be the head of a movement, so maybe that's why it feels that way. You know, probably, right? Exactly. I do. I think Michael Burns talks about, FD talks about all the time, like, why are you collabing with these losers? And I think a big part of it is because the rest of us, I really think those of us who don't chase the clout and don't chase the collaborations, we're doing it because we know it's dangerous. Not that we don't all collab with people that are good, but we're not going to collab with Asmongold. You know what I'm saying? And I think we're making that decision because it just will come at the expense of our communities. Our communities will suffer. The fact that Hassan's community wants it to happen tells me the kind of community he built. It's just different. It's a different world. It's a different bubble. You do you, but we do philosophy here. We believe that, you know, at least I believe, and I assume some of the people who watch me believe, that there's a really profound, realization waiting for all of us that we exist and that's meaningful and we could always be better and less bad every day, but it's really, really hard to be a good person. And I really hope I get to die a good person, but there's a chance I won't. You know, in a philosophical sense, right? In many ways, we're all good people, but it's really it's a journey into being less bad every day, in every little way you can, right? Because it's such a stressful and really philosophically evil world, and it can't be that way unless the majority of us were. The world is a reflection of us as a whole. You can't all be the good ones, and then this is the world. The world is this bad because we are this bad. And so we must be less bad every day. All of us, right?